Welcome to BonVoyageTV, Episode 3. We're really excited tonight. We've told you we're going to bring travel experts into your living room. Interesting Kiwis are travelling to interesting places. So we're honoured tonight to have as our special guest Judy Bailey. Welcome, Judy.
Thank you for having me.
We're looking forward to chatting to you. This is Olivia.
Hi,
Hello,
nice
Olivia.
to meet you. Very excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Olivia reads our news, so
Yeah,
we might later
Right.
see if we can get you to give us a
Good
call.
luck with
Might have
that.
to have some tips.
But Judy, the reason you're here is you are doing a bit of travelling now. What have you been up to? You lead some tours for us.
Well, I
Tell us
have.
more.
I have. Travel has always been a real passion is such an overworked word, isn't it? But it describes really how I feel about it. I love it. I love experiencing new things, visiting new countries, learning about new cultures, and particularly being with different sorts of people all the time. So,
What you might not know is Judy has been working with Bon Voyage Cruises and Travel for a couple of years now, and you lead tours for us, Judy. So tell us a bit about a couple of those, because you've been to Africa and Sri Lanka and India. What happens on the trips?
you know, I just feel like I've died and gone to heaven, to be honest. I just hope nobody kind of twigs that I'm having such a good time. It has been a joy because travel is something that I just adore. So the first trip was to Namibia and Botswana, and a very brief little stint into Zimbabwe when we visited the Victoria Falls, which was one of the highlights for me. And I could just see David Livingstone coming down the Zambezi, you know, in his dugout canoe.
And what would you have said to him?
Oh, you know, look out! There's a big drop.
I know you're Livingston.
Yeah, but it was the most extraordinary trip, and I think one of the things that I really love about these trips with Bon Voyage is that they're small. They're 12 people max, and that seems to work really well because it means
good size.
Yeah.
It's a small group.
it
Good-
means you
good
can
for
be
transport.
flexible as well. You know, as you know, if you've got a busload of I don't know how many 40 people or more even, it's much harder to be
It's hard to
a bit
corral them.
random about where you stop and
Like herding cats, and even just
Yeah.
getting 40 people on and off buses is a bit of a chore.
So this all sounds really exciting. Can you tell us a little bit about the camaraderie that you have on these trips and the friendships that you make?
we have made some wonderful friendships on these trips actually, because they're so small, you know, and you're in a confined space travelling to various destinations for maybe several hours. You do get to chat and learn about each other's lives, and you're starting from a common place. You know, you're all obviously interested in where you're going, so you've got that in common to start with. And it's funny really that we seem to have developed into a bit of a family. You
Yeah,
know,
I can imagine.
that the same people came to India that came on the Africa trip.
Yeah.
And I think
So-
they're going to Cuba as well.
And I suspect they might. But we're, you know, always so keen to have other people join us because it brings a whole new dynamic into the group and freshens it up. And they're all delightful people, just, you know, outgoing and interested in seeing new things and experiencing new things.
Oh, lovely. I want to join.
Well, come along.
Now, you're pretty involved in the planning of the trips. Jill in my office and you and I have a little bit of input occasionally. But you get right into the planning and looking at the hotels, the destinations. But you and Jill are pretty particular about the accommodation. So If you think back to India, there were some fabulous hotels on that. Tell us one of your favourites.
Gosh, the accommodation has become a bit of a feature of these things. But having said that, it doesn't always have to be 5-star, super duper flashy stuff. I'm a great fan of small hotels and lots of character.
The character and history.
A bit of history as well. And one of the great hotels that we stayed at in India was the Imperial in Delhi, which is, it goes back to the early last century anyway, and it has the most amazing collection of art and antique furniture and whatnot, but also it's oozing history because Mountbatten and Nehru and Gandhi met there to discuss the partition of India. It's got amazing, you can feel the history just oozing out of the walls.
But is it true that there may have been a party from New Zealand that had a bus party in their car park?
Oh, couldn't possibly say.
That's true then.
Oh dear, yeah, we do enjoy a lot of laughs
Lot of fun.
on the thing. And being Kiwis, we're quite fond of our beer, and it's very hot in India. So we had a chili bin on our little bus full of beer, and in India we were met at the airport by a very splendid bus. It was I suppose it must have been about a 20-seater, so there was lots of room for us and our little group to move around. And it also had blue lighting, what do you call it?
Mood
LED lighting.
Strobe lights.
Yes, it did. Well, it wasn't exactly strobe, but it was very party lighting.
Yeah.
So, yes, we did have Bollywood music as well, because our
fantastic.
guide was a young guy who was right into his Bollywood, music. And so he played that at vast decibels on our trips, and we got right into it. We were dancing away. And
Now, was he the rather good-looking chap I've heard about?
He's a very good-looking chap. Yes, this has become a prerequisite for the guides.
Well, I'm sure in Cuba you're about to find one.
Oh yeah.
But Judy, we have to go to a break. Stick with us, because we'll be coming back to talk to Judy in a few minutes.
At In Vivo, we've got the biggest crush on Graham Norton. So we flew all the way to his place so he could have a crush on us. Graham Norton's own Sauvignon Blanc. Southern Hemisphere grapes meet Northern Hemisphere fab.
One of the features, I think, is also using those local guides, and you still have a bit of flexibility, so
Yes,
with a small group.
In India, for instance, Sunil, our guide, said to us at the very beginning, and Jill and I had pointed this out to him as well, that we really wanted to get a bit off the beaten track and experience the place, as opposed to visiting, X number of monuments and hearing the stand it, which is, you know, a degree of that is great because there are things that you really want to see, obviously. But to really meet the people and experience the life and the way they live is so important, I think, when you're travelling. Otherwise, you may as well just sit in front of the telly.
That's right.
So,
watch YouTube videos.
Yeah. So he was wonderful. He said to us, look, you know, I can take you to all the monuments, but I want you to meet the people. And so he would stop randomly if he saw, for instance, one time we stopped outside a little school in the middle of nowhere, and the kids were all arriving for school, and he popped in and he said to the teachers, do you mind if I bring this group? And here's again the joy of a small group, in to see the kids and see how you operate in the school. And they said, no, come in. And that's another thing. You find that people are so welcoming and so interested in other people, and your tourists.
These strange Kiwis.
From where you've come from, you know. So there's this kind of interchange of ideas and things that goes on. But it was a delight. We sat there. They made us so welcome. We listened to their assembly, and they didn't do anything special for us at all. They had prayers, and then they do a meditation, which is really lovely because that's a huge part of Indian life, the spiritual side. And so the kids did meditation. They got all these little tiny, they must have been 5 or even younger even, I think, sitting there doing their meditation. And then they had news from the newspaper, and then we went inside and saw them in their classrooms, which were just concrete boxes, really, with very little furniture. And yet they were, you know, there were quotes from Shakespeare above each of the doors that we went through. And
I don't think you'd find that in many primary schools in Auckland.
No, education, very, very important.
And Judy, part of that trip to India included going to Sri Lanka as well, didn't it?
Yes, it did. It did. We went to Sri Lanka first, actually, because it's like India was, I suspect, about 30 years ago. It's a little bit slower paced, and it's very beautiful, very beautiful. We went from Colombo across the middle of the island and down the east coast, and did a kind of circuit around the bottom half of Sri Lanka. And we ended up in the tea plantations, of course, because you can't go to Sri Lanka without learning about tea. And that was fascanating, actually. I've become, very particular about how I make my tea now. Yeah.
So the feature is getting amongst the people. You're learning some of the traditions, tea, etc. And with your next trip to Cuba, will we see you rolling cigars or mixing mojitos, or what have you got planned there?
Actually, I am a bit fond of the odd cigar, so
that's something new.
I've already had a number of people say to me, "Oh, so you're going to Cuba?
Yeah.
How about bringing back some cigars?" So yeah, it's so exciting. I think for me particularly, it's the possibilities of Cuba and learning about the history there, particularly because it was so much a part of my growing up, the Bay of Pigs and the Cold War and the kind of standoff between Kennedy and Khrushchev. And I remember that. I'm so ancient. And so that's a really interesting part of this trip. But also, as you say, there's the cigars and the mojitos and the salsa dancing.
The golden age of Frank Sinatra and all his friends in those wonderful hotels. And of course, some of those wonderful hotels are there, and you're probably staying at them.
So Cuba is mid-century, retro, classic cars.
Well, now you've got me.
If you're into classic cars like my husband is, Buicks, Chevys, those wonderful old American cars
1950s,
are
early
all there.
60s. And they're still running. They've kept them going.
They're
They had
still
to.
running, and the architecture is fabulous. It's the old colonial era in Cuba.
And there are parts of that that are being restored with United Nations funding, and it's other parts are not restored at all, so it's going to be an interesting mix.
Yes, it will. It will. So, but I think one of the things that I'm really looking forward to in Cuba is the music. I think if anybody remembers the Buena Vista Social Club and those wonderful old jazz musicians, there's that sort of music wherever you go.
It'd be fantastic.
So we've asked our guide to seek out some really lovely little clubs and places that the locals go, as opposed to the tourist haunts, you know, where they.
And they'll find them for you too.
Yes, yeah. So that's a big feature of these trips, that we try to get off the well-trodden
do
route.
as the locals do.
Yeah.
So it sounds like there's going to be a few late nights, a bit of cigar smoke, mojitos.
Yeah. Although, you know,
you'll have to go into training.
Yes, we will. We will. But also, there's plenty of time for people to peel off and discover their own little jewels. You know.
So you always allow a bit of free time.
Yes, absolutely. Really do try to do that, because not everybody wants to do the same thing all the time. We've found that most people want to do what's on the itinerary, but there is the option to peel off if you want to. So that's nice. It's lovely to have that flexibility.
That's really inspirational, Judy. And if Jill, for any reason, can't make it, I'll be joining you for the next trip. So in the meantime, we've got to have a short break, and we'll be back to talk to Judy in a few minutes.
Small, intimate, unique. Being on a Windstar cruise is like being on your own private yacht, where freedom is the order of every day. Casual elegance is the style of choice, and the world's most enchanting places inspire the voyage of a lifetime. This is like nothing you've ever done before. Windstar Cruises, 180 degrees from ordinary.
At In Vivo, we've got the biggest crush on Graham Norton. So we flew all the way to his place so he could have a crush on us. Graham Norton's own Sauvignon Blanc. Southern Hemisphere grapes meet Northern Hemisphere fab.
And so what parts of Cuba are you going to be travelling?
Well, we're starting in Havana, and then we're going to do a bit of a circuit around the western part of the island, and then going up through the middle and back to the beachy area, so that we can enjoy some of that fabulous Caribbean beach time at the end. But we're going through places like Cuba's very famous for being where Ernest Hemingway wrote a lot of his works, so I'm very keen to do a little pilgrimage to his house. We'll be going to the tomb of Che Guevara, who was, you know, the revolutionary and became a kind of icon, really, of the 60s and 70s, didn't he? Yeah.
And it's not all history and nightclubs and party and smoke. You're
No,
going to get a bit close to nature as well.
It's a real balance, actually, of that and nature and history. So we're also going to a really beautiful part of Cuba, the Vinales Valley, where there are extraordinary limestone formations that just seem to pop up out of the ground, and a beautiful, huge waterfall. So, yeah, that'll be interesting, and caves and all sorts.
Maybe a bit of hiking there.
Bit of hiking. It's great. You know, I think this trip is going to be a really good all-round experience of Cuba, of all the delights that Cuba has to offer.
Sounds wonderful. Now, speaking of hiking, the trip is actually going with Land Chile through Santiago and Lima on the way to Havana. On the way back, you can come straight home the same way, but on the way back, you and some of the party already have decided to stop in Lima, then head off to Machu Picchu. That's another little difference.
Somewhere I've always wanted to go. You know, it's one of the great wonders of the world, isn't it? So I've never been, and the opportunity is just too good to miss, really.
That's an optional, but I think most people will make it a compulsory. But if you didn't have enough time, you can just join Judy and the team going from here through Chile and Lima and Peru and then on to Havana and back the same way. But if you've got a bit more time, why would you miss a few days in Machu Picchu? Cuba sounds fantastic, Judy. So if anyone out there wants to know more about the Cuba trip with Judy and Jill, go to our website, bonvoyage.co.nz. All the details are there. Or give Jill a ring at the office. She's been planning the trip for ages. She knows all about it. Now, Olivia, it's time for the news.
Oh, this is a little bit nervous with Judy Bailey in the room here.
Why?
I'm a complete amateur at this. This is the 3rd episode. I was wondering if you had any tips for me.
There's nothing worse, is there, than having to do something like that with your peers.
Yes, it's a brand new experience.
I know. No tips. No, I'm sure you're fabulous at it.
Are you sure you don't want to read one?
No. I know. My news reading days are long gone. Long gone.
All right. It's on me. We're off to South America today.
We are.
Yes, well, Air New Zealand is off to South America, not us, unfortunately. It has been public knowledge for some months that Air New Zealand's next new destination is Buenos Aires in Argentina, yes. And now they have told us it is happening this summer. That's very exciting. Known as the Paris of the South, it is truly Latin and of course home of the current Pope, Pope Francis. What a great addition to Air New Zealand's network.
I wonder if they'll get him travelling.
Oh, hopefully he'll be in business. Buenos Aires founded by...
He'd be in economy, actually. He's a man of the people.
Ah, yes, of course. Good. Okay, and just a little fun fact about Buenos Aires. It was founded by Spanish sailors in the mid-1500s. And was originally,
a long time ago.
Yes, was originally known as Santa Maria de los Buenos Aires.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, do you know what it means?
Virgin Mary of the Good Winds or something.
You got Mary, Holy Mary of the Good Winds. Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah, well done. A name chosen by the chaplain of the original Mendoza expedition. The name was actually lengthened to 13 words.
13.
Yeah, that'd be a bit of a
That's handy.
mouthful. But today it is simply known as Buenos Aires and has a population of about 3 million, but there are close to 13 million in the larger metropolis.
It's a wonderful city. It really is a wonderful city.
Yeah. So back to the flights, they start on the 1st of December and they will fly non-stop from Auckland 3 times per week on Tuesday, Friday and Sunday nights. The flights take 11 hours 40 minutes on the way over and 13 hours 31 minutes on the way back.
How do you think she's going to?
That's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, and very specific times.
Yes, I think she's doing fab.
She's natural.
Yes, keep her on.
Oh, thank you.
Now that will be, those are non-stop, and they will basically be going over part of Antarctica. So
Oh, fabulous.
pretty cool flight, but most of
Yeah.
it's at night, so you probably won't see it.
Yeah. Oh no, it's fantastic that it's non-stop. They will have economy, premium economy and business class. The aircraft will be fresh out of a full refit, so nice and safe.
Absolutely.
They have a pretty sharp launch fare in economy class at $18.99 return for travel next February if you book by 7th of April.
That's actually great news because we haven't had an airline flying from Buenos Aires to Auckland since Aerolíneas Argentinas, and they pulled out about 3 or 4 years ago. And of course having 2 airlines going to South America directly from Auckland means more competition,
Yes.
which means better fares, and for all of us who would love to go to South America, fares will be cheaper, more competition, more seats. It's good news.
Perfect, and what a beautiful place to visit. Okay, next up on the news, big changes earning air points from credit cards. So Bank of New Zealand customers will no longer earn Air New Zealand air points from 1st of May. Air New Zealand has decided not to renew BNZ's contract and have replaced them with Westpac as their main credit card partner.
That's pretty big news because there's a lot of people have BNZ Global Plus cards,
Yep.
and a lot of people have been earning points.
Yep,
Um,
absolutely.
They have to think again.
Okay, so what I'm wondering is if the ratio of air points earned to dollars spent will change, if it'll be better with Westpac, do you know?
I bet it will because Westpac pulled this deal off BNZ, so it has to be a bit better. But I understand Westpac are going to have 2 or 3 different credit cards. So if you're a low spending person, you get so many air points. But if you're a big spender, like the gold card sort of level, You're going to get more, and you can join a club type system where you pay a bit and you get much more. But the big news is that it's going to be on a business card as well. So for us in business or us at home, basically the more we spend on our credit cards, the better off we're going to be. So you can put your rates, your power, all your business expenses. Some landlords will even take your rent. That all means you're going to earn lots of points, and that will mean upgrades and free tickets. So get spending.
Fantastic. I like that advice. Get spending. Okay, so this is a big deal because around 100,000 BNZ customers have credit cards and even mortgages earning air points, as you were saying. It appears that BNZ were blindsided by this change, and they are scrambling to offer other awards to keep their customers, bravely saying that air points were not what our customers wanted anymore.
It is big news, and it's affected you, it's affected me. Judy, you affected?
I am a BNZ customer, and I've got the global thing here, so I'm really interested in this.
Everyone's going to have a rethink.
Yeah, it's a big part of it.
So thank you, Olivia.
Welcome.
Very good. How did you think she did?
I thought she did really well, and I'm really interested in the news as well.
That's what we want. We want everyone to be interested in our news. We research for hours and hours to find these pieces, so it's good to know that it's of interest.
Really relevant.
It'll affect a lot of people.
Yeah.
Now, before you go, Judy, it's customary for us to present our guests with a bottle of BonVoyage wine.
Oh,
They're
how
our wine
lovely.
sponsors.
Thank you
very
so
much for
much.
coming, and we hope you and Chris can enjoy that.
Oh, how lovely. Thank you. We will.
Good.
Thank you. It's been such a pleasure. I just love to talk about travel.
Well, we'll have you on again, certainly when you get back from Cuba, find out all about it.
Yeah. It'll be so exciting. I can't wait.
Of course you're excited to be going to Cuba. Travel is exciting. That's what we're trying to bring to your lounge room with BonVoyageTV. So we'll see you next time. In the meantime,
Hola, hola,
Cola!